Hello, I'm Dale Leslie, and this is the second in a series of 2 programs on the village of Dixboro. The 20th century is slowly but surely coming to an end, and it's time now to reflect back on the 20th century as historians might look upon it here in the village of Dixboro. And we've called upon the resident expert here in the village, Carol Freeman, who has authored a book about the history of Dixboro, who's been a lifelong resident here, to help us reflect on what historians might think about this little burg when they look back to the 20th century. So please join us as we reflect a little bit about what the 1900s have been like here in the village of Dixboro. We're talking with Carol Freeman of Dixboro. And Carol, there are probably some people watching this program that don't know you as well as I do. And maybe you can kind of set the stage for us. You were born and raised here, were you not?
Mm-hmm. Actually, I wasn't born right in Dixboro, but I was living in, my family was living in Dixboro at that time.
And that was 1911? Mm-hmm. 1911. So you have been a part of the history of this community for most of this century then?
Yeah, most of it.
What was Dixboro like, your early remembrances? What are some of the things that come immediately to mind? Small little farming community.
Yes, yes. It was like a small village. It wasn't really a village, but it was a hamlet maybe. And we were all, everybody knew everyone else. That was the nice thing. And you went to school. I could walk to school just no distance at all. Walk to church. And so we didn't have to have a car for that. And I know that my mother drove into Ann Arbor with a horse and buggy, but she didn't enjoy herself because she was kind of scared of the horse. But it was a very happy place to live.
And what did most of the people do for income?
Oh my. Well, there was three of them at least that were carpenters, I know. And there was a store there, so a man owned the store. Mm-hmm. There was a, well, I don't know what other business there was there.
A lot of farming. Yes,
only of course it had to stretch out in different ways from Dixboro.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, I've heard that people have already pinpointed certain dates in the 20th century that will go down in history. I'm talking about, of course, mm-hmm. world history. We're in this country, we think of 1941, Pearl Harbor. We think of some later dates where there obviously were landmark dates. And what I was interested in your opinion on is, as historians look back on the 20th century, the 1900s here in the village of Dixboro, what will be some of the dates or years that they'll point to that had a dramatic effect on the way the character of this community? Certainly one of the first that occurred was the expansion and the paving of Plymouth Road.
Yes.
Which occurred in 1925.
But the Dixboro Heights, which is a subdivision
mm-hmm. But that came later.
That came in 1950, I believe.
But the but Plymouth Road was, even back in the time that you were a child, was a main artery from Detroit to Ann Arbor.
Right. Right, and I remember how before the road was paved, how the traffic used to come through to go to the football games. And I expect there wasn't a tremendous amount of traffic. Maybe came this way, but it seemed to all of us that it was. And you couldn't get across the road for a certain amount of time.
This was before the paving or afterwards?
That was before the paving.
Oh, okay, so it even became busier then, I suppose.
Oh, yes. Yes, once it got paved, it used to be very busy. And as soon after it got paved, they started having the chicken dinners.
Oh,
at the church. Yes.
At the church for people that were going to the Michigan football games. But back to the paving for a moment. I know you have some real nice pictures of the, well, you actually have a picture of Plymouth Road before it was paved.
Yes.
And that was taken, I think you told me, 1917?
No, I think more like 16.
1916, okay.
Not much difference.
Right. Okay. And that would be, I think, if I have my bearings correct, you'd be looking east at that point,
right? Right.
Along Plymouth Road. Mm-hmm. And you can see the church.
Yes.
Or excuse me, the schoolhouse in the horizon there.
Yes.
And for those that are familiar with the village, they'll recognize that as a landmark.
Mm-hmm.
So then all this mass construction activity occurred, and I imagine that was quite a project for them to tackle something like that back then.
By that, are you referring to the
paving? Yes.
Yeah, or the paving, yes. It was, but you know, again, they were friendly. It was paved by the convict labor.
Oh, convict labor. Oh, that's interesting.
And they had sort of a camp down near Ypsilanti, and brought the men out in the morning in the truck. The fellows, they had the little train that brought the gravel, and I suppose maybe sand, I'm not sure what all, up Dixboro Road came from down there. And so these convicts, as we understood, they all told us that they were in for bootlegging. And they were, some of them weren't more than 18, 19 years old, so they just had a blast with those little cars to drive. And so I think they were friendly and treated them just as if they lived here.
I know I shared with you the story my great aunt told me about her mother going down to the road and wondering why the convicts weren't working a little quicker and moving along a little faster. And one of them responded to her, "Lady, I've got 20 years to build this road."
Right.
Well, you're right. So then with Plymouth Road paved and there's increased traffic on the road, you mentioned that for the Michigan football games, people were beginning to use Plymouth Road even more so to come out to the games during the fall.
Yes.
And the parishioners at the Dixboro Church here in the village were quick to take advantage of a good situation, weren't they?
Yes, oh yes.
So in 1926, the church began serving chicken dinners in conjunction with the football games, and that was quite a successful event.
It was quite successful. We had, of course, homemade biscuits and homemade pie, and the people, sometimes when I run into someone that says, "Oh, I remember Dixboro, way back, why we used to go out there for football dinners." And
I think I read in your book of Dixboro, lest we forget, that at the beginning the dinners were 75 cents for adults and 50 cents for children. That's quite a bargain.
Yes, it certainly is now.
Dinner.
Yeah.
And at first they were held in the church basement.
Yes. Oh yes, for years. Yes, I can't tell you right offhand what year. Well, they had to be held in the basement until the addition was put on, so that they had the room upstairs.
Right. Okay. If we can jump ahead a little bit now to what I guess I would call the next landmark year, at least according to my research, and that was in 1946. We're into the mid part of this century now, and a young Methodist minister is assigned to the parish here at Dixboro by the name of Lauren Campbell.
Yes.
And Lauren came here and had almost an immediate impact, did he not?
Yes.
Maybe you can comment a little bit about Lauren's ministry here and some of the things that occurred while he was here.
I think Lauren was good for the community. I remember his one remark was that I don't believe that I should make all the decisions and do all the different things. Let's divide the work up amongst the people in the community, church people, and I think that encouraged more people to come. they felt like they were part of the church.
Mm-hmm. And then in 1947, just having been here less than a year, he kind of planted the idea of a building expansion program for the church, didn't he?
Yes, we had the, what did they call the Lord's Acre?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, one of the, maybe a couple of the farmers gave so many acres, and it was planted and harvested, and the money went towards building. Not building, but building on.
And that money was raised, plus other donations, and I believe it was then on Thanksgiving Day,
Yes.
I want to say 1949 maybe, ground was broken for an addition to the Dixboro Methodist Church, which was, shall I say it, almost doubled the size of the church?
Yeah, I would think so. Yes, I'm sure it did. Yes.
And the interesting story about the construction of that addition, I'm going to let you finish the story, but there's a very interesting aspect to the way that construction came about. And why don't you share that with who did all the work?
Who did all the work? I don't know. Who did?
The parishioners.
Oh, well, yes. Yes. The labor was donated. Most of it, and unless it called for something that had to be professional. But, people came there. People that, some of the pictures show people there working that I don't think that anybody had seen at church for a long time, but people wanted it to be part of the building addition. They wanted to feel that they had done their part.
And then when the building was dedicated in 1951, I think that's the date I saw in your book, it was totally debt-free. And that was due to parishioner labor, and I know some major contributions.
Major contributions, yes.
But that was quite a story. I think even to this day, people would have to marvel in hearing the story of that building project that occurred there in the middle part of this century. Speaking of building, in 1951, 41 homes were built here in Dixboro, the Dixboro Heights. And I wonder if you can reflect on that. That certainly must have doubled and perhaps tripled the size of Dixboro, did it not?
Well, it seems like it could have easily enough. It was just nice to be able to see all that going on, and knowing that people were really going to buy the houses, and they all sold, and they were a tremendous price. I mean, tremendously bargains.
Carol, what was the reaction, do you remember, of most of the people in Dixboro when they heard that there was going to be such a big subdivision go in?
Well, somebody made the remark to me that they heard that I said, or I guess it was me, said that they were furious. They moved and bought that place in '37, and we thought we had all kinds of property. We bought 5 acres, but I said no. Don't feel that way at all. They were such nice people. They were friendly, and they mixed in with the neighborhood just fine. Everybody, I don't say they all, well, they went to school. Mostly they were young married people with small families.
Right.
But so that the PTO was here. Let's see. No, yeah, the school up there wasn't built till what,
53.
53, yes. So when they were first here, they must have gone down there. But it took some time to get all the houses sold. But people enjoyed it. They went evenings and walked through the houses to see what they looked like. And I don't think anybody objected at all.
Well, if anyone should have objected, it should have been you, because it was so adjacent to where you lived.
Yes.
Was that property owned by someone that sold it
Yes.
in its entirety? Do you remember who was the...
Well, the Bushes owned it for the, I don't know what year they came there, but they had owned it 40 acres. And the Marshall Park was part of it too.
I see.
And see, I don't know that all of it was. I mean, how far it went up Plymouth Road. But it was always a cornfield, I think, out there. And my kids got a big kick out of running through it.
Well, with 41 new homes, that, as you said, occupied by mostly young families, that required a new school. And the Dixboro School, which later became the Glenn A. Freeman School, named after your late husband, was built in 1953. And then in 58 became part of the Ann Arbor Public Schools. And so there's another, certainly a landmark occasion that occurred here in the village during the 1900s.
Yeah, I wish someday they'd be able to use it again as a local school, or not a local school, but for a school. There is a Montessori school there and a daycare center and all. And but it was, of course, it was a new building. It was such a nice new building, and so nice and clean. And the man who did the, I don't know if I should use the term gender, but he did work. He took such pride in making it look nice. And it was most appropriate that they were to later name the school in honor of Glenn. I think that he certainly was a pillar of the community and did a lot in this area. Well, people ask me, how did your husband get a school named after him? Was he, oh, I don't know. They had asked different things. They thought he must at least have a college education, and he didn't.
He was just a hard worker, that's what.
I guess so. He was interested in the community. Anything that was going on. It didn't matter whether it was church or school or Scouts. Scouts was his greatest love. Yeah,
he was a long-time Scoutmaster of Troop 30, which, again, I don't think you could make a comment about this century without recognizing the contributions of Scouting to this community.
Yeah.
Well, we want to see some of your pictures, but I thought I would be remiss if you and I didn't mention something of a little bit more recent vintage that I have been delighted to see, and that's the work that the Goods have done. I believe that's how you pronounce their name.
Yes.
Alan and Cheryl Good have done with the Dixboro store.
Right.
And now that store was, well, I guess it's been here all of this century, quite frankly, hasn't it?
I guess so, yes.
In one shape or another. But what they've done recently is literally refurbish it, haven't they?
Oh, yes. They have done a marvelous job, and they had a big sale, not this weekend, weekend before, and cars were lined up clear on Church Street, clear to the church and up Plymouth Road and everything, and of course they also had a craft sale in the school. Not they didn't, but Dixie-Rupp did.
So in their way, they have contributed to a significant event, I think you could say, that has occurred during this century. Well, we want to take a little walk around now and look at some of your pictures that you have and have you reflect on them a little bit.
That was this was a gas station on Prospect, just south of Cherry Hill Road, and it was there, I know, in the 1920s, and but that was one of the old.
Just south of Dixboro, then, right?
South of Dixboro, quite a way, but well, south of Dixboro, south of Friends Lake, maybe.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, but this is the picture of Plymouth Road as it existed in 1916. And now, did you live along Plymouth Road?
Yes. Yes.
Is your home in that picture?
Or? No, it's up this way farther, towards Ann Arbor. It was actually my grandparents' home, but my mother and brother and sister and I lived there too. Let's see, the blacksmith shop was right at this end of the picture, and the barn is there too. And of course the school is showing. And I don't know whether you could see down to the, well, right down at the very end of the road would be the Lord Fox, or the farm coward, as I still say sometimes.
And then some of these pictures show them working on the road.
Yes.
For instance, I think that picture there, is it not?
No.
Oh, that's
no,
not.
That's one of the machines or whatever that were when they first marked the road and all. But this was south of Dixboro somewhere. Raymond Cook gave me the picture, several pictures of them when they were, but that wasn't in Dixboro. It was south. Yeah, that's.
But now this picture with the carriage, that's a picture of Plymouth Road, isn't it?
Yes, yes, that's Plymouth Road, coming towards Ann Arbor, and that's Marshall Park up there, and on this side, right in the very corner, or right at a corner of the road, is where the first creamery was. Mm-hmm. Got another picture, but there wasn't room to get them all up.
Sure.
But there's a picture showing how they smoothed the cement, the new cement, with, well, it looks like rakes, back of the rake or something, as they went along, dumping that and then smoothing it over with by hand.
And then, of course, the Dixboro garage was right along Plymouth Road, and you have an excellent picture of that.
Yes.
That almost looks like it was taken with a wide-angle camera.
Yes. I believe Mr. Nelson, who used to live just south of Dixboro, and I believe that he took that picture. He had to have a special camera to take something that big.
And they sold, looks like they maybe sold cars too.
They did sell cars. Now, I don't know whether they did right at first or not, but they sold cars there. And that picture says, what, 3A and Dixie gas, does it say Dixie gasoline?
Yes.
Yeah, but there are different kinds of gasoline sold there.
I recognize Harold Zeeb.
And Harold
Bissell.
Bissell, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And Howard Rash and Bernard Schmidt.
Oh, Bernard Schmidt.
I think maybe he was still in high school. I don't know. Just worked part-time. I'm not sure, or I might have been out. But
then we talked about the church and how much of the church has been a part of the community, not only this century, but since its initial construction back in the 1800s. Mm-hmm. But this is an interesting picture, again, from Plymouth Road looking north of the Dixboro Church.
Yes, and I have never figured out how, if you were coming west to come to church, it looks like only people who came from the
You had
west.
to make a sharp right turn, didn't you?
Now, it's possible that if you were coming to church from down Frains Lake Way, that you came on Church Street that way, so you didn't have to come up here and turn. You know.
Remaining with the historical theme of our talk is the fact that Carol, on her 1920s vintage Underwood, pounded out copy that resulted in this very informative, very enjoyable, very interesting book about Dixboro, of Dixboro Lest We Forget. Carol, have you always been interested in history? How did that develop? Is that something you've always been interested in?
No, I don't think I was until, maybe after I was married. It seems to me that I remember saying once that I liked English in school and I liked spelling, but I didn't particularly like history or what do we call it? Well, anyway, I think of the history that I didn't like was having to learn all the dates of the different wars and all that I didn't like. But when it came to stories about people that I knew, grew up with, and all, then I got interested.
History that you could relate to yourself.
Yes, and Glenn was so enthused about my doing it too. Do it.
Well, I know in the foreword in your book you make a point to saying that you hope your grandchildren, and in some cases I guess now even great-grandchildren,
yes.
develop an interest in history then.
Yeah.
So you must be a believer that you can learn from history.
Yes. Oh, yes. I think so. It's yes, it's been a happy life here in Dixboro.
Here is Carol herself in her black high-button shoes, a picture taken in 1917.
And it's right across Plymouth Road, showing, I guess you don't see any of the old parsonage, but that was the first parsonage. And so I grew up always across Plymouth Road from the different ministers and got a chance to play with their children.
So you definitely had to walk the straight and narrow.
Yes, yes.
Well, Carol, I really thank you very much for budgeting time to tell us a little bit more about Dixboro's history. If you would like a copy of Carol's book, I'm sure you can reach her and she'd be more than happy to sell you one. But
they sell them at the general store too, Dixboro General Store.
And for those that just like to reminisce like I do, I'm sure she's always available for that kind of conversation also.
Yeah.
Thank you, Carol.
You're welcome.
And we'll say goodbye for now on this in a series of programs on Dixboro.
Yeah.
There have been innumerable events here in the village green of Dixboro during this century. One has to reflect back on the Dixboro festivals that were held for 10 years running, beginning in 1977. And then in 1988, we observed the centennial of the Dixboro School, which has been part of this little burg for, again, all of this century. Many a good athletic event has occurred on the village green, some formal, most rather informal. And of course the Boy Scout cabin, located on the corner of Short Street and Church Street in Dixboro, has been the home for scouting activities throughout the years. So one would have to reflect that the village green here in Dixboro has been the focal point of community activity through much of this century and the century preceding it. Hollywood and Vine it isn't, but Plymouth and Cherry Hill Road it is, right here in the center of Dixboro. We want to thank Carol Freeman for participating in this program on Dixboro. Thank you for your listener and viewership, and we invite your comments. For now, Dale Leslie. So long.